What's happening, folks? Welcome back to Celtic Fans TV. It is time for live, full-time reaction. The Celtic 6, Dundee 0 at Celtic Park. I'm joined by Kenny today to talk through the game. This is a live format. You can ask your questions in the live chat box below, but you have to be subscribed to do so. So if you're not subscribed already, click the red subscribe button below and get involved with the live chat. Kenny, that is the best performance I've seen from a Celtic team for a long, long time.
Yeah, I mean, I think we probably need to temper our enthusiasm in the respect that it's Dundee at home. But I hope that's a watershed moment in terms of the future of our club. That's how impressive it was. It had everything. It had what appears to be the birth of a superstar up front for £4 million. A Postecoglou signing from nowhere. Superb. Ryan Christie was really weak last season, but he's putting a lot of good shifts for Celtic. He's never played better than that. That's the best 90 minutes I've ever seen Ryan Christie performing. It saw the return to form of Turnbull. Turnbull pulling the strings all over the place. Shots on target, right back to what we need him doing. And that's so key for us because he's going to be so important to us. Even defensively, Welsh coming in instead of Bitton, a marked difference. They didn't put us under a lot of pressure, but they put us under enough pressure to let you know that Welsh should never have been out that side. And then even Tony Ralston putting in some sort of showpiece performance at right back. He's probably elevated, and I'm not suggesting we don't need to go out and sign a right back. We do, but he's probably elevated. We probably only need to sign one now. He's probably elevated himself to, having enough confidence that he can sit in beside a first choice right back. So many positives all over the park. And when you look at when we played 3-10s last season, Christie, Rogic, Turnbull, under the guise of Lennon, it was a nightmare. Your heart used to sink. They would confuse each other. Lennon didn't know how to handle them. Postecoglou, the complete reverse. They're causing chaos. Turnbull was sitting deep when Rogic was going forward. Christie's peeling in off the left-hand side. Movement everywhere, and Kyogo's just causing people brain damage at the back, trying to pick up everyone. So good to see. So above all, it looks like we've got a manager that knows how to play Celtic style of football, knows how to damage people. And when we've still got a few quid in the back to sign some defenders, all of a sudden things are looking positive for us. It is only Dundee at home, so let's not get carried away. But like you say, I've not seen them play like they beat Livingston 6-0 towards the end of last season. It bore no resemblance to what they did there. That could have been 10.
Yeah, easily could have been 10 with the chances that we missed in the game. But you mentioned that we might have seen the birth of a superstar today, and it's hard not to get carried away when you watch a performance like that for Kyogo Furuhashi. I mean, it just looks like he's got everything. Like, he's so tenacious. He was closing people down. He was tracking back and nutmegging people in his own defensive third. The movement for the goals, again, he's so intelligent. Technically very good. His first touch is almost always impeccable. He's just going to score so many goals for us this season.
Yeah, and above all, playing with that huge smile on his face. Look how happy he is to be here. I mean, our key players last season looked like they didn't want to be here. He's at the start of a journey. I think it was a 4-year deal. We could be onto something really special with him. As you say, he appears to have everything. When he first signed, I've obviously never seen him because I don't watch the J League, but instinctively you think he's going to be a good technical player. But will he be able to handle the rough and tumble of the SPL? People ballooning physically a small man up in the air. He's going to handle it no problem because he's so intelligent. He comes short, he wins free kicks. He can get into poaching positions and score goals. That a number 9 will score 15 goals a season just by poaching, but that's a skill. There's an art to that. He's going to have quick feet. If it looks like he's two-footed, he can bury balls from different angles. And he's also closing down. You remember players like Kenny Miller, they weren't particularly sort of easy on the eye for Celtic, but they would close down and they would get a cheer out the fans. He's doing that as well. He's doing absolutely everything. So again, don't want to get too carried away. And he's in the prime of his career. He's 26 years old. Don't want to get too carried away with him, but you can see him scoring a glut. He scored 4 goals and he's played, about 120 minutes? He's scoring all over the place, and you think that's only going to improve. So, yeah, I'm delighted with him. And it was just his aptitude and the smile on his face as he left the park. That was the most refreshing thing for me.
Yeah, he looks so infectious. Even watching the game, and I'm not at the game today, I'm watching it in the house, but his energy is infectious through watching the game on the telly. And you can see the crowd there have just taken to him today, and he looks like he's got everything to be a really top player for us. And that first goal, as you said, David Turnbull, who I thought looked like the David Turnbull of last season, today plays a lovely ball down the channel for Abada, who again was bright all afternoon. And Kyogo takes up these brilliant positions, and I've seen it. Even he had one actually at Tynecastle last weekend where Christie could have squared it for him. He was in the 6-yard box and Christie went for goal. He's brilliant at getting in that position, and that's where both his first 2 goals came from today. Cutbacks in the 6-yard box, timing is on to perfection. And those first 2 goals really sort of sum up what he's all about.
Yeah, I think we actually need to get a bit more intelligent about finding him. There was times out in Czech during the week where he was making lovely little runs on the shoulder of the defender, and we weren't intelligent enough to find them. So those relationships will build over time. Though that chemistry will develop over time, and he'll get into even more positions. And that opening goal was really tough. I mean, Abada, brilliant that he just clipped that in on a half volley first time. He's so direct, Abada. When he gets the ball, you look at, we're used to Frimpong getting the ball out in that area last season, and the amount of times he just squandered it, you knew in your heart of hearts nothing was going to happen. He's the polar opposite. Completely direct. Look at that first goal. Bang, clipped in a half volley. And Kyogo shows strength there. He shows physicality there to get in front of a man who's much bigger than him at pace and bury it. So, yeah, lovely first goal, and Turnbull, lovely clip ball into Abada as well. If the 3 of them can keep that up, they're going to cut anyone open in this league. Anyone. We've got our problems at the back that we still need to think about. But my God, it's really hopeful going forward now.
Yeah, just touching on that there, the last comment that came up was about Christie, Kyogo and Abada. Looks like it could be the start of a really good partnership for us. The thing about Kyogo, I mean, he missed some chances today. He could have had 5 or 6 goals easily. So again, maybe that will come. Maybe he can get more ruthless with the chances, but it's getting in the positions time and time again. And as you say, that'll only get better as his teammates get used to playing with him, and that sort of chemistry really develops.
Yeah, and you look at, I mean, Ajeti had a decent start to last season, scored a few goals, but he didn't do anything like that. He never came out and scored a hat-trick and blew people away and was dominating the entire defence. And at that point, we were quite excited about Ajeti. You now look at Ajeti and it's like getting blood out of a stone trying to get him into a good position to score. So I don't mind that he's missing. I don't mind at all that he's missing, because he's hungry and he's getting into the right areas. And he can miss as many if he wants, if he's going to score a hat-trick every week. And, it really does. He's the type of player that he's not going to... defences will not become wise to him. Sometimes you can get a player that he's perhaps a big target man and he does well at the start of his career, but people can read him easily. You're not going to be able to read him easily because his mind is racing all the time and he's dominating people all over the place. So it's hard not to get excited, but I think we're entitled to get excited after the misery we've been through for the past 12 months. You're looking at someone that could put, a real box office player that's going to get people off their feet and someone that's happy to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you could see today, Kenny, we heard a lot about Ange and the style of play before he came in. I think you could really see today what he's trying to do with the team. The attacking patterns is there. The intensity was really, really good today. We were sharp. We created so many chances. We absolutely dominated the game from start to finish. And how long ago was it again that you watched a Celtic performance with a smile on your face? Because we were really, really entertaining today.
Yeah, and if that's his style of play, then that suits Celtic down to the ground. I thought Rogic was good. I think there's still something in Tom Rogic. It's difficult to come to that conclusion because he's been so injury prone and he's not been a key player for 3 years now. But he's still got if you think about some of his games last season, away to Motherwell, he was absolutely outstanding. That wasn't that long ago. There's still something there. His footwork was brilliant for the 60 minutes that he was on. And teams can sit in. The big threat about a home game against a lower six side is they just sit in and absorb you. And they do everything they can to get 10 men behind the ball. If you're playing with one up front, a couple of wide men and somebody in the 10, they can do that. But we had way more than that today. We were throwing 6 bodies at them. And it doesn't matter what they're trying to do in terms of soaking up pressure. You can't cope if you've got Rogic, Turnbull and Christie and Abada running at you. So it was the options. It was just the flood of options. And you've still got Forrest. You can't even get in the side. And I expect when Eddie goes, we'll reinvest in another striker. So all of a sudden, from being a bit downbeat about our direction, you're now thinking, this is about as attractive a front line as we've had in recent years. And it's only just the start. Abada's 19. Abada's younger than a lot of these guys that we've got in his projects, and he's coming straight in on a 5-year deal and causing chaos. So just delighted. And another aspect of that game is McGregor was left with a lot of responsibility to basically anchor everything. He's basically put his trust on McGregor to say, McGregor, you're going to have to sit a little bit deeper. Like, that's because I want to play with 5 forwards. And what does he do? He does it brilliantly. Sits in there so disciplined. You see the freshness in Callum McGregor. He's like a new man. Whatever he was doing last season has gone. That cloud has lifted on our captain. And look at him at the end of the game. He's getting everyone back in for a secondary huddle to say, this is where it starts. This is where our direction starts. And that shows leadership. And I don't think he's necessarily a natural leader. Charlie Mulgrew spoke about this in commentary during the week. You can see that he's not a natural leader, but he's developed that way. And I think we're in the hands of someone that could really anchor up that midfield and allow those forward players to cause the problems they had. Remains to be seen against tougher opposition, but yeah, brilliant stuff going forward.
Yeah, I think the thing that usually stands out when new signings, time and time again, will say these guys need time to settle in. But what Kyogo and Abada are doing flies in the face of that. And it shows you that if someone comes in with the right attitude and the right quality, they can make an impact straight away. And that's what both of these guys are doing. And you said there about a cloud being lifted. I think today you could really, really feel that a cloud was lifted, and it was vital for us to put in a performance like that today, particularly after the result at Tynecastle last week and Rangers getting beat yesterday. It was so important for us to lift that cloud and get a really, really good performance under our belts to kick off the league campaign properly.
Yeah, we spoke about in the group chat, what do we need to do today? We need to go out and get 3 points, but what would be the biggest positive of all? Going down and laying down a marker. Rangers getting beat was obviously something that no one really expected yesterday, and that'll give them a bit of a wobble because it takes away that sort of invincible cloak that they had, and that will make them think. But to go down and to make them really take notice today, putting 4 or 5, 6 goals down, that will make them scared. It will. I mean, there's no doubt they'll realise that we're putting something together that could be pretty special. And the more pressure that builds on them, the bigger the issue is in terms of them trying to keep their nerves. It's already appears to be a problem for them with fans back in the stadium. But that 6-0 is going to that's going to do more psychologically good than just the scoreline.
Yeah, absolutely. And such is the margin of victory today that we've actually. I'll let Kenny go and turn that alarm off. I can see a couple of people in the comments. It's no mine. Such is the margin of victory today that we've obviously only 2 games in, I know, but albeit we have overtaken them today, and that's the really important thing about winning at such a margin today, to lift everybody's confidence. But again, defensively, a clean sheet so important, given how things have gone defensively since Ange's come in.
Yeah, I mean, the clean sheet, again, difficult to analyse, but Sylvain Sheridan's been around the course. They were playing pretty direct football. They were long shies. I think they realised that that would all it would take really to cause us some problems with some, pretty basic attacking play. And I think if there's one thing Postecoglou probably has been guilty of, is he should never have put in Bitton ahead of Welsh after the Midtjylland games. That was just an error. He shouldn't have been playing in those last 2 games, because I don't think Welsh is a superstar. I do think we need to sign another centre-half. But I think he had a bit of a coming-of-age game in that first tie against Midtjylland. And he's done really well again today. Really assured, winning a lot of deep balls. If there's one thing I'm maybe a wee bit cautious of, just to give all this optimism some balance, Starfelt looks still a little bit sloppy to me. I don't think he's settled. I don't think his presence is something that I would have hoped for a $4.5 million outlay for an international defender. Now, that may well be misplaced pessimism, because Virgil van Dijk had a dodgy start at centre-half for Celtic. Julian had a terrible start at centre-half for Celtic. And they both... Virgil van Dijk's now the best defender in the world, so it doesn't mean you're not going to be a success. But if there's one thing that we cannot afford, is that our investments in our defence are failures. We can kind of afford it up front because we've got a few options. We're not going to have that many options at the back, even when we invest in the defence. So the recruitment back there is absolutely crucial. And yeah, I think I don't want to be too negative on him, but I think he's still got a little bit of a point to prove. But overall, really happy, considering we've still got some money, presumably, to spend in the back line, particularly in the full-back areas.
Yeah, absolutely. We've talked a lot about the front 4 so far today. Kyogo, Abada, you mentioned Vogic. You did touch on Ryan Christie, but I thought he was absolutely superb today. That ball, what about that ball for Kyogo's hat-trick goal? That's absolutely top class. And so I just want to say, whatever's happening with his contract, I mean, if he can put in that sort of performance, we should just give him a blank sheet of paper if he can keep that form up.
Yeah, I mean, that blind pass for Kyogo was just superb. And he had another 2 assists. The first assist for Kyogo, brilliant play out wide, deadly ball into the box. Rodgik's assist, I mean, that first touch was sublime for Rodgik's assist. Every time you get the ball, you thought, where does this guy come from? He was awful last. I personally was a very big critic of him last year. I thought he was awful last season. But it just proves that good players, they might run through periods of bad form, but they don't permanently lose their ability, because he's like a new man. He was obviously more affected than others by the malaise that was brought about under Lennon's regime. I don't know, but you're absolutely right. The first thing we need to do on Monday morning is get him into a boardroom and say, Ryan, look, what is it you're looking for? Now, he might turn around and say, well, I want 50 grand a week and I want to go to the English Premier League, in which case we just need to take what we can get for him, sadly, in this window, because I wouldn't pass up £5 million or whatever just to keep him to the end of December. Economically, that would just be silly. But we've got to desperately try and make him one of the top 2-3 highest paid players at the club. Now, that's maybe a bit knee-jerk on the strength of a few good performances, but we don't have much time to call. We're going to have to make that judgment now, because it's coming to the end of the window. We're going to have to be decisive. And that's a challenge for Don Mackay. Can he convince him? Can he put enough financial security in front of him and Ange, and say, look, you're a key part of where we're going, to try and convince him to stay? I hope so. In my heart of hearts, I probably don't think so. I think he's maybe headed for new pastures. But even if he is, on the strength of these performances, we'll get a few more quid for him. We'll maybe get a little bit of an auction for him, because people will be taking notes of him now.
Yeah, I just want to bring in this comment for Jordan. People can say Dundee at home, but when was the last time we put in a performance like that against any side? It's becoming a rejuvenation under Ange with not a lot of resources either. And that is the important point, Kenny, because how many games did we have last season against teams similar to Dundee for the best part of 15, 16 months now, where we just couldn't muster a performance that looked anything like that. So we're not getting carried away by what we watched today, but it's encouraging. And when you think ahead to the bigger games, you want the team to be playing at an intensity that gives you hope going into those games, and that tells you that we can go and challenge these better teams in Europe in the big domestic games. And that's the big takeaway for today.
Yeah, and I don't doubt, I do not, we're playing. So the next, assuming we get through this tie midweek, the next big challenge will be against Alkmaar. I don't doubt for a minute that playing that way in an offensive fashion is going to cause them a lot of problems. It will, because that was a high level. We've watched Celtic often enough to know that even against teams in the bottom half of the top six, if you play like that, it means something. Something's clicking, and it will click at that higher level. The big challenge is clearly going to be at the back. You know, can we handle seasoned centre forwards that know their way around with quality? Them throwing the type of attacking play that we've got. Can our defence soak that up? There's a huge question mark over that, and I don't think the recruitment is necessarily going to come in time, it would appear, for us to be primed to handle the Europa League playoff or the Ibrox visit defensively. I might be wrong there. We might get a couple of bodies in, and they do find their way quickly, but it looks like we've just messed around there too often. Joe Hart looks like he's going to help just in terms of his presence and his persona. Just watching the game, you feel a bit calmer with his body language is better. He's clearly, his communication is better. He does look a bit rusty in terms of his actual technical contribution, but that'll change. You know, I don't think there's any doubt that someone with his experience and quality, you know, he's not going to get back to the levels he was at when he was at Man City, but technically those sides of his game will return. So that's a big plus for us. So yeah, I can see us performing against a higher level going forward. No issue at all. But we really do need to press the accelerator on signing a couple of fullbacks than our centre half.
Yeah, big time. Final mention today before we talk about having the crowd back and looking ahead to Thursday. Anthony Valston, you mentioned him earlier on, proving a lot of people wrong with his performances recently, and he took his goal brilliantly today to make it 5.
Yeah, and we probably glossed over his performance against Hearts because we were so downbeat after the game. I mean, that was an incredible goal. Again, with his left peg. He scored 2 world-class goals with his left peg in the last 3 games. And he cares. And you know, I feel a bit bad for him because he gets a lot of stick online and social media, and he's just a young guy that's trying his best. And he was brilliant against Midtjylland as well in the away leg. You know, a real warrior. I still think we need to sign a starting right back because there is a cap to his ability. But he's probably, at the start of the season, I was amazed he was given a contract, and I thought, well, we need to sign 2 right backs. He's probably elevated himself to a point where I'd rather maybe use our resources elsewhere rather than sign a second right back. You know, I'd probably rather use that elsewhere in the defence, and he sits in there as reserve fullback as reward for what he's done. And, you know, he's not going to be made a mockery of online now because he can show them those 2 world-class goals. And it's not just that. His defending was pretty solid in the last 2 or 3 games. You know, he's been pretty reliable in a defensive sense. And as much as going forward is important for fullbacks, primarily they've got to defend. And it looks like he's got himself in a state of confidence where he can do that.
Yeah, he has been outstanding in recent games. And that is all you can ask of someone who's in a position of the pitch where we really do need strengthening, that when he's got that position, he gives it his all and he really puts in some good performances before we can get reinforcements in. We talked earlier, Kenny, about lifting a cloud from the club and the team that's been there for the last little while. The crowd back in today, 25,000, and on Thursday back towards a full house. How important can that be? You mentioned McGregor's sort of mini huddle at the end, getting that connection back between the players, the manager and the supporters can make us really, really powerful again.
Yeah, priceless, because the fact that the connection with the supporters broke up coincided with their demise. Now, you can't say it was exclusively down to that. It obviously wasn't. There were a number of things, but I think that had a big hand in it. And we're inevitably going to improve with 60,000 people behind us. It appears that our rivals have benefited from the fact that they're playing without that sort of stress. But you know, we've proven over the course of a few seasons that we have a good relationship with the home support in terms of being able to handle the pressure and playing in front of them and benefiting from that type of support. So it's going to be priceless for us, Paul. And it comes at a nice time because I think the fans are behind the manager. It's hard not to like Postecoglou as a person, just on the basis of how he handles the media, his philosophy. He looks humble, but he's got a nice forward-thinking style of play that is consistent with Celtic's style of play. So everything's a nice fit, and I think the fans really are behind him, and that's only going to help when we get 60,000 people roaring them on. And Kyogo looks like he loves the fans. He looks like he loves the support, and he was gesturing to the support. He was very sort of animated amongst the supporters. So he could flourish under 60,000 fans. So yeah, I don't think we can put a price in the fact that we're going back to a full house.
Yeah, I think we're all absolutely buzzing for Thursday night. Last one before we finish up, Kenny. A few candidates, but probably no prizes for guessing who your man of the match was.
I think you've got to give it to Kyogo for a hat-trick and a whirlwind, breathtaking performance. You know, we've already spoke about him at length. I think Christie's shortly behind him because his assist play and just the overall quality of his game was made him a close second, despite the fact that he was playing against someone who scored a hat-trick. So, yeah, I've got to go with Kyogo. He's going to sell a shed loads of jerseys now with Kyogo 8 in the back. There's no doubt about that. I'll be buying one of them for my boy at the start of next week. And onwards and upwards, it's nice to have a smile on my face. I mean, Absolutely. We've been miserable on this channel for a year, Paul, and sometimes I feel bad that we just sit and it's like a doomsday type sort of broadcast. So let's enjoy this. Let's have a beer tonight and think, no, there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Aye, absolutely. I think that's a good note to end on, as you say. What a difference to be able to watch the team with a smile on our faces. That's it for a full-time reaction. Like this video, comment with your own thoughts below. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I'll be seeing you shortly, about half an hour's time, for the live Twitter reaction as well. So join us for that. We'll see you soon. Cheers.